on how to start and run a handyman business, we're going to have to agree on what a handyman is so that we know what we're talking about when we use the term handyman. And unfortunately, there's not a really great answer for this at the moment because just in our common English language in the United States, we've been referring to handymen as everything from the most unskilled of unskilled labor all the way up through fully licensed general contractors that are legal to build an entire house and sell it if they want to, who are doing handyman work. But we need to narrow that down a little bit because if I'm going to tell you how to start a business as a handyman, we need to know what we mean when we say handyman. So for my purposes, I'll just let y'all know beforehand, I only work for property managers who are renting out rental properties for homeowners that have contracted them to do that. So they need lots and lots and lots of maintenance done, and they differentiate between a handyman and a contractor. Those are two different things. Handymen are going to be good at everything as far as repairs are concerned. Contractors are who you go to when the handyman can't get it or when it doesn't fall under the scope of work that he offers. Then you have to move up to a contractor or to some licensed professional like a licensed electrician, HVAC, plumbing, etc. So with that being said, let's talk about what, in my opinion, when you're listening to me, let's talk about what a handyman is not. That's a good way to whittle this down. So first of all, a handyman, generally speaking, and this is for homeowners and everybody as well, a handyman is not unskilled labor. If you're not skilled in any particular trade, and especially if you're not skilled, excuse me, in multiple trades, if that's not the case with you, you're not really a handyman, you're just unskilled labor, and that's not to put anybody down, it just doesn't fall under the purview of handyman. Another thing a handyman is not a licensed specialist who sells his services as such. So if you have an electrical license and you're fully certified to do that and you're running a business that advertises services working on electrical, if that's what you're doing, you're not really a handyman. Even if you do a little bit of handyman work, if your business revolves around, let's say, electrical or plumbing, you advertise yourself as such, you're licensed as such, that's not what I'm talking about when I say handyman either. So let's talk about what a handyman is. A handyman is multi-trade. A handyman should have a general knowledge of many, many different trades, preferably a general knowledge of all the trades, but at the very least, many trades. Second thing a handyman is, or should be striving to be, is adept at general problem solving. And what I mean by this is you should be somebody who, if one of your loyal clients calls you and says, hey, the GFCI outlet in my bathroom is not working, and you know nothing about them, you've never worked on them, you've replaced a few outlets, you have a general familiarity with home wiring, but you've never worked on a GFCI outlet. A handyman is somebody who's good at problem solving, so that means you're going to jump on YouTube or you're going to pull out a book or you're going to call a friend that you have that's certified, but you're going to take the steps necessary to learn what you need to learn on the spot to get that problem fixed. And every new problem that comes after that, you should be adept at problem solving so that you can just do the research and figure it out because you do have at least a baseline general familiarity with the tools, the equipment, the materials, and the processes. And then next, what a handyman is should be eager to learn on the fly. Not just adept at problem solving, but somebody who wants to learn on the fly. Because if that's not what you want to do, if you find it stressful for somebody to ask you to take care of a problem you don't know how to take care of, if your immediate reaction is anxiety and stress and an unwillingness to want to do that, handyman probably isn't for you. But if you enjoy that, if that's what you really love is figuring out new things and solving problems, probably a handyman. Now, another way to look at this is going to be to talk about what your client thinks a handyman is, because it doesn't do you any good to start a business as a handyman business if you don't understand what it is that clients who are seeking handymen are looking for. So your clients, if they're seeking a handyman, these are generally going to be what they're looking for. Number one, they're not looking for somebody to do a whole home restoration. What I mean by that is you shouldn't be doing, let's say, whole house carpet or whole house tile or, fully retexturing all the walls in the entire house and repainting them. You shouldn't be running new electrical circuits and things like that all throughout the house. You're not going to be putting a whole new roof on a whole house. Usually, you may be qualified in one or two of those particular things and go ahead and do that. But the clients who are looking for handymen, they're not looking for a whole home something or another most of the time. They're going to be going to a specialized contractor for that. The other thing is legal requirements. So generally, a homeowner is not going to be asking a handyman to replace their HVAC system or to upgrade their electrical panel, things like that. So a handyman, by your client's definition, is going to be somebody who's going to be very good at repairs, maybe building porches and pergolas and furniture and things like that. But a handyman is not going to be doing things that are extremely highly technical that require specialists or that are something that's going to be done to the entire home. Those typically are going to be in the purview of subcontractors and contractors. However, if it's not that complex, if it is a repair, and it shouldn't matter what it is, electrical troubleshooting, plumbing repairs behind a shower, maybe carpet or, a floating floor in one particular room, upgrading all the light fixtures, replacing a window, replacing one door, things like that, that's what people call a handyman for. And the other thing that your clients expect of you, and this is really important, especially in the property management world, but this is also important with homeowners and every other type of client. You should be striving to be the kind of guy that can get everything done for them. So let's say you do have multiple trade skills. You can do lots and lots of most things. And then you're asked to replace a window in a bedroom. Now, maybe you don't know how to do that. And again, this goes back to me saying you should be eager to learn on the fly. Here's what's going to happen. If your homeowner asks you to come replace a window because you've done 3 other jobs for them before and they feel safe with you, they like you, they're comfortable having you in their home, they feel your pricing is fair, they enjoy working with you, you're their guy up to that point. If they ask you to replace a bedroom window and you tell them that that's out of your wheelhouse and you don't know how to do that, they kind of already know that you don't know how to do literally everything, but the reason they're asking you is because they trust you and they want you to be the guy that they let into their home. So your job at this point is to figure out how to replace a window, because replacing a window is not different from any other job that you do on a house. Once you are familiar with the tools, the materials, and the processes in general, you should be able to transfer skills from over here to over here and just tweak them a little bit and not only get the window changed, but get the window changed correctly. You should be able to research that. Now, the alternative is that you tell them, no, you can't do that because it's not in your wheelhouse. Well, now they're in a position where unless they have a window installer that they want to pay, and most specialists are going to be charging more than a handyman, not a whole lot more, but definitely more. So you've now put them in a position where they need to find another handyman just for that one window. So now you've given yourself competition you didn't have. At first you were their handyman. They're going to call you for everything. They're not going to call anybody else. And as long as you get it figured out, they're happy to pay you good rates to do that. The instant you have to say no, now they got to call this guy. Now they've got 2 handymen, and they may start calling this guy instead of you. So it's very important that you really strive to do everything you can do, because that's the client's expectation when they're looking for a handyman. They're not looking for a specialist. They're not looking for a contractor. They're looking for someone they can trust with reasonable pricing that they like having in their home and they enjoy doing business with. So you are going to need to have one of the things that you're going to have to be a handyman. In other words, if this doesn't become true of you relatively quickly, you may not be a handyman, is you should have or gain quickly a general working knowledge of the tools, the materials, and the processes that go into building and maintaining a home. It doesn't mean you need to know how to build a home, and it doesn't mean you need to know how to use every single tool and every single material and every single process, but you should have a general working knowledge so that if a job requires a new tool, a new material, or a new process, it's familiar enough to you to other things that you've done, that you can take what you've done and transfer those skills over to here with a very small learning curve, and then quickly ramp up that learning curve. And like I said, now all of a sudden you're a window guy too. So to recap everything, I think what I'm going to say is a handyman is a consolidator. If I really had to boil it all down to one word, a handyman is a consolidator. Whether you're a homeowner or a property manager or a real estate agent or any other client for handyman, generally speaking, what you're hoping for with a handyman is that this one person is going to consolidate all of your work so that you don't have to call, what do we have? Electrician, plumber, roofer, door and window guy, landscaper, flooring specialist, cleaner, garage door specialist, and the list goes on and on. When you have a house that needs 18 different punch list items addressed, you want to be able to call that one guy, because otherwise you're going to have to call 8 different companies. You're going to have 8 different work orders, 8 different trip fees, 8 different estimates to approve or deny or negotiate, 8 different invoices. Everything's multiplied by 8. Your purpose as a handyman to your client is to be a consolidator, to be the one-stop shop that they can call to get a myriad of things done. And if you can't do them all, that's okay, guys. There's no rule that's set that if you get a list of 18 items, you have to complete all 18 items. But if you can complete 16 items and then say, hey, this issue is in your electrical sub panel, I'm not licensed to work on that, I highly suggest that you go ahead and get an electrical contractor just for that sub panel. And then the same thing maybe with a landscaping. Maybe they've got some drainage issues and it's going to require some actual equipment and some digging to keep water from pooling up to the house. Maybe you need to call a professional landscaping company for that. But otherwise, your job is to consolidate a huge list of items all the way down to just 1 or 2 tiny little things that they have left. And then if you can figure out those 1 or 2 things, that's even better. So moving forward with this course, moving forward on this channel, for anybody who isn't aware, a handyman, via my terms, is multi-trade, always eager to learn, generally familiar with all the tools and equipment, and most importantly, a consolidator. You consolidate a big mess of problems into no more problems, or just 1 or 2 tiny little things that still need to get taken care of. So I think if you follow this and you keep this in mind throughout the rest of the course or while watching the YouTube channel, you'll have a good understanding of what I'm talking about when I say a handyman business. That's the clientele that we're going to be serving, and those are the services that we're going to be providing.